All right, hi everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast. We have a very special guest today, including our co-host, Fiona Gehrke, Symphonina Foundation Ambassador. We're joined by composer and conductor Roger Neill. Roger's Golden Globe winner, Emmy winner, a Ph.D. in music composition, very successful, and we want to hear all about how he got to be so very successful. Roger, welcome.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Fiona. Good to be here. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
I should probably also add, I'm a professor of music composition at Indiana University. That's my school, which I just started. So that's another one of my many titles.
Help me out. Is that in Bloomington, or is that?
That's the one in Bloomington. Yes.
Okay. All right. Very well. Congratulations. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you get to spend a lot of time on the campus then, or do you do things remotely? How does that
I'm
work
full time. So I'm actually I'm commuting back and forth. Like every few weeks. It's a little strange, but it's fun.
Okay, that's great. Well, you've been involved. Look, you've been involved for composition a long time now, doing things on film and TV. I have in my notes here: 20th Century Women, King of the Hill, This American Life. It could go on and on. Mozart in the Jungle. What was Mozart in the Jungle?
Mozart in the Jungle was a fun
I have to look it up.
project. It's a TV series for Amazon Prime. It was one of the first hits that Amazon had as a series, and it's a scripted series about orchestral musicians in New York City. It's a comedy, comedy drama, multi-character cast. It was centered around the life of orchestral players in a fictional symphony orchestra, and I had quite a big role on that because I was a composer, but I was the script consultant, and I coached the actors who portrayed conductors. And I was on set, and I made props. I even have a cameo on screen. So that was one of those really fun jobs where you're asked to dig deep into like a myriad of skills that we garner along the way. So composer, filmmaker, classical musician. It was fun. It's a very fun series.
I bet it. And I'm just gathering you like to do a lot of different things. You've done a lot of different things, and you're always you're up for the next adventure, whatever it is.
Yeah, David, I think my career has suffered for that in an odd way because I can't sit still, and I have so many different hats that I wear. Like even now, I'm in a position at Indiana University. I'm a professor of composition teaching game music.
Oh, okay.
And I've been very active in game music for quite a long time, but it's certainly not the only thing I do. That's what I do there, but I do all sorts of other things.
Yeah. You had an opportunity to help Fiona along the way too in her start of her career. She's still very young, but let me know a little bit about what you guys have done together.
Well, at this point, man, we reminisced just recently about how long I've known you. We come with 6 years.
6 years.
6 years, which is what, 1/3 of your entire life.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy. When you get mine, it seems like 5 minutes. But
that's true, isn't it? Yeah.
We initially met Fiona and I through the Golden Hornet organization out of Austin that provides mentorship for young composers and performance opportunities for young composers. And we were paired up, me being her teacher. It was successful the first year, it was successful the second year, and third year, we just kept going. And then at a certain point, we decided to undertake a relationship where I'm giving her private lessons on a regular basis. So it's been really wonderful. And she's an extraordinary composer, as I know that you know this. So it's just a joy to work with such a genius student.
Yeah. Fiona, what's your experience like?
Oh, it's amazing between Roger's ideas of film music of let's transpose everything up a major second.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I will. That's part of my teaching technique that I'll just stir things up. Fiona might bring something in which seems pretty good, but I'll say you know what? I'm kind of bored at this point, right at this bar. What can we do to mess this up? And I'll just throw out ideas and see what we like. And it's really fun. And I'll tell you, David, for me, that's somewhat of a stark contrast with the way I was taught as a composer. That I was the validity of my ideas were seldom questioned. And that was probably not constructive for me. I like the idea of saying, this part not so good. This part not so good. It's not pleasing. It's not beautiful. It's not compelling. So I approach my teaching the way that my clients approach me, my paying clients. We don't like this music here. We don't like this scene. Rewrite it. So it's a different approach, and I enjoy that. I enjoy taking my professional experience into my teaching
Yeah.
relationship with Fiona.
Before I let Fiona ask a question of you, which I'm sure she's dying to do, I want to ask you a little bit about something you just said there, which is when clients are saying it's not working for them. I'm sure as a composer, sometimes you would say, okay, maybe it's not, but other times you're probably thinking, no, it works just fine. But what is your professional perspective for everybody else who's doing film and TV and game composition as a composer when you're working for a client in a situation like that?
Yeah, this comes up quite a lot in my teaching and in my own experiences. There's been many times I've written a piece of music for a film or a television show, and I think this is the one.
Hmm.
This is my Emmy. This is my Oscar. It's so great. And then I'll present it to the client, and they don't respond to it. And usually the reason is is that yes, it might be a wonderful piece of music, but it's not useful for the purposes that it's being commissioned. And usually that means I've let myself be carried away by being too clever. So it's important as a collaborative composer to understand the function of the music you're writing, and that sometimes you need to have a different approach. Often you need to have a different approach in that you're writing for a specific reason, or specifically maybe a specific story or emotional line or something that has other requirements than just the music itself. So when a client tells me, when a client does not respond well to something I presented, it's usually because I've forgotten my role as a collaborator, and I've gotten carried away as an artist. So, and I find that I kind of really enjoy that, though. It's not a bad thing, because it means that when I write music for films or games, what have you, it's not about me. If the music is rejected, it's not me as a composer being rejected. If I turned in my opera and it was rejected, that would be about me. But if it's a particular scene, it's just like, this doesn't work for the purpose that we're aiming for. Let's try something else. So it's a bit easier to be a bit emotionally detached. It still stings, but it doesn't define me as an artist if something doesn't go well.
Yeah, it's a great recommendation for others too. Don't take it personally, right?
Mhm.
It's not personal. Yeah, yeah. Fiona, go ahead.
Do you ever get the chance to repurpose any of those bits of music that you loved so much but didn't quite fit?
Rarely, though it does happen. I say rarely because by the time I repurpose something old for a new project, it almost takes as much time as if I was writing fresh. But it does come up. Like, for example, I have a film premiering in a few weeks at the Tribeca Film Festival called Bang My Box. It's a documentary. And I wrote a score I was very happy with, but there was just like one piece of music where the producers chose something from my archives that they just liked, another piece of music from something else I'd written that was available for us to use. And they put that in the film and said, can you make this work? So I went back to something that I previously had composed and made that work for this film coming out. That happened because they chose that. And also this, usually, to answer your question, David, usually the music I've written in the past is not available for us to use because it's not owned by me. It's owned by whoever commissioned me. So this was a rare case where the music that they liked was something that I owned all the rights to. So it can be really complicated.
Yeah. When you were where did you do your PhD in music composition?
At Harvard, I got my undergraduate degrees from USC, or undergraduate degree singular from USC, and then 2 graduate degrees from Harvard.
Okay, so my PhD is in engineering. It's not in music. I played since I was 5. I'm obviously very musical, but that wasn't the career choice that I made for education. But I want to ask you a question about a realization I had when I finished my work in engineering, which was like I didn't know that much. I felt like I knew a lot about the very specific things that they were going to ask me about on my qualification exam and my dissertation defense and all that. But I realized that there was so much that I didn't know, and that was, I think, part of the recognition. I think hopefully most people who get PhDs, at least in the STEMs, feel like okay, you're an expert, but a thimbleful in an ocean of possible knowledge. Did you have the same experience on the music composition side? Is it similar?
That's a really interesting question, and I've explored this before with students and other people. So I went to USC, got a wonderful education there in music. It's such a great, thorough school of music. And then I was invited to pursue my PhD at Harvard, and it was just it was a wonderful experience being there at Harvard, the 4 years that I was there, being immersed in music at that level of study. However, when I realized, I think the answer is gonna be counter to what you experienced.
Uh-huh.
When I started working professionally in television initially, I realized that I could have started that career with the skills I had when I was 17.
Okay.
And I say that's a little bit glib and not 100% true, but it's kind of true. But the most important part of that is that my instincts and my tastes were developed already, and my personality was developed already, and I could have just ran with that. However, when I was a young composer, I just wanted to enrich my life as a musician. So that's the main reason I continued my studies. And I look back at my PhD time as the time where it was just fun to do for 4 years. It was great, and I did that, and then I went on to something else.
And did you cover all sorts of genres of music composition as part of that PhD, or did you focus on something?
I did lots of different things.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even remember most of it, but I remember not just composition, but I also developed my conducting skills, and I was pursuing my doctorate. I also had an interest in ethnomusicology and received a traveling grant to study to East Africa and study there, Swahili music in East Africa. So things like that. That doesn't really come up much when I'm scoring films, my expertise in Swahili music, but it's the type of thing that's just available to you when you're a graduate student. So I
Yeah.
did that.
That's great that you had those opportunities. I wonder if Fiona would benefit from the same sort of opportunities of traveling around and all that. Fiona, what do you think your biggest challenges are right now?
Probably just performances, but hopefully by producing stuff, that'll go well. Roger, I know you used to be a flutist. So what drew you to composition?
First of all, as Fiona's mentor, I will have to second that notion. She said, like at this point, she's writing such wonderful music, and now it's really the most important thing is to concentrate on getting her music out there in terms of performances. She just has a backlog of wonderful music that just needs to get out into the world. About the flute, and yeah, it's funny you put that in the past tense because I still do have a flute here and I still do play it, but I'm no longer the flutist I was. I started my undergraduate studies as a flutist. I've always been a multi-instrumentalist. So by the time I was ready to apply to college, I was an accomplished flutist and pianist and guitarist. And I loved all those instruments, but my skills as a flutist were my strongest suit. So I used that to get into music school. And USC invited me, and that was how I got there. And when I arrived, I realized there's a whole bunch of flute players there. And compared to them, I was way down the list as being like, at the top. I was not at the top. I think I wasn't accepted into that school because I was interesting and angular. And also, I started to get a notion of the type of lifestyle that I would have as a professional flutist, and it didn't feel complete enough for me. Don't think it was something that fit me well. But at the same time, at school, when I was sort of floundering a bit about my flute studies, I was excelling in my theory classes, and the composition department reached out to me and said, "You're in the wrong department. Be with us." And that's what happened. And it's funny because at that time, I mean, I was really at a crossroads. Like, do I really devote the time and energy required to be a professional musician, a professional performer, or do I go into composition? And when I finally chose the latter, it felt like a divorce. Like the flute is done, and we had a good time together, but we have to call it quits. So I really kind of stopped being a flutist almost immediately, and now I only play irregularly because I know how good I was at one time, and that's all gone now. So it's a little heartbreaking when I do play.
That reminds me a little bit of my classical piano teacher from 2006 till about 2014, I guess, probably. Donna Klitzum, who passed away last year. Gosh, maybe it was 2024. Time flies. Yeah, 2024. So she had a left arm injury while she was touring and played through it and got to the point where she couldn't play through it anymore and basically had to not play anymore. And and I would always ask her when I would have a lesson with her if she wanted to play at all or anything, and it was always a pass. There's one time I was playing something not the way she wanted it, and she just edged me over and did one little thing with her right hand that on the key, like, dang, that is so good. And
Yeah.
and I think, maybe sometimes I just offer this, like, I know it's not at the standard you want for yourself, but I bet you it's still probably very much at a standard well above what other people would appreciate. So if I could encourage you, perhaps don't let that flute sit too long because other people would probably enjoy listening to you.
Well, that's a good observation, David, and I concur. And it's something I've sort of learned as I progressed in my career and got older, which is to cut myself some slack in that area of expertise. I think when you're a young person, probably Fiona is in this camp, you really want to be the best possible composer, the best possible flute player. Then you realize at a certain point that's an unobtainable goal, and that just be the best of what you have, and it's like be the best of what a special thing that you have to offer. So, like to that end, I think your observation is correct. If and when I do play flute, for example, on recordings that I make, it is not as beautiful as the performance if I hired a professional, but is uniquely mine. There's things that I do which are unique to me, and I lean into that because that helps give my music a special character.
Fiona, this is your opportunity. You have Roger to ask a question that's going to be publicly documented forever here, so give it your best.
Speaking of teaching, we've worked together for over half a decade, which has been, of course, great and wonderful, and I'm so grateful for it. How has your experience been teaching at college?
Wow. Um, that's a deep question, Fiona. I hope you appreciate how delightful it is to teach you because you are so talented and so motivated and so productive. Now, I work with other composers who are all those things, but so many of them are not at the level that you are, and sometimes it just I feel like I need to try to impress upon my other students how competitive it is to be a professional artist. And it's not something you should take lightly. And if you're not willing to commit your time and your sort of mental and emotional energy to it, it's just not going to be successful. So that's something I kind of lean into, and also lean into what is the definition of success. How I like to talk to my students now about success is there's a path for you in music that leads to a beautiful, fulfilling life. That should be the measure of your success. You might not make lots of money. You might have to supplement your income from other means. That's fine. But there's a path by which your life is enriched by being a musician. And that, for me, is the measure of success. But it's going to require sacrifice and devotion and passion. I do see some of my students along the way kind of sort of figure that out and realize this is not going to work out for me. And it has less to do with people's natural abilities than it has to do with just simple matter of how important it is to them to have a life in music.
And how do you judge, or do you judge whether someone has that passion, or do you just let them figure it out for themselves?
I cannot judge. That's their call. I'm here for all my students to go on that path because I feel like I know how to get them there. I feel pretty confident that through my own experiences and what I viewed throughout my career, that I know the path to get to that kind of career and that kind of life.
Yeah, that's great. Roger, thank you so much for spending your time with us. I really do have another question for you. We're going to run out of time here pretty soon, but I do want to know when you're working with actors on a movie set and you're trying to teach them conducting, how hard is that?
Oh, it's so much fun.
I
The
bet it's
actors
fun, but is it hard?
love it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you quickly about that because
Yeah.
in Mozart in the Jungle, there were two actors that I coached as conductors. One was the great Malcolm McDowell, and the other was Gael Garcia Bernal. So Malcolm was in his late 70s at that time, and I helped develop his his character in terms of what kind of conductor he is. He was in this series, he was like a feisty, like the lion of the orchestra. So I sort of designed his conducting technique with him in the manner of Herbert von Karajan or Lauren Mazel, a powerful, almost fascistic conductor, and he rose to that. And then Gael Garcia Bernal was the young sort of romantic, and he looked a bit in his role like Gustavo Dudamel, but his character to me seemed like Bernstein, all emotion, all id, So he sort of developed his conducting style in that manner. That was fun. That was fun for me and for the actors.
It must be a real treat to do all the things that you do and continue to do. We wish you all the success with it. If people want to get in touch with you, Roger, what's the best way to do that?
Feel free to reach out. I enjoy hearing from people. Some of my students and mentors develop relationships with me from that way. But the best way is just to Google me, and it'll lead you to my website. Roger Neill has 2 L's, and just find me at rogerneill.com, and there's contact information there, and also music and information about my activities.
That sounds good, Roger. Well, on behalf of Fiona, we wish you the best. We're going to listen to some of your music on the way out here, and if there's anything we can do with the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, just let us know.
Thank you. Thank you both.